2,500 miles. By August 1945, the wartime generation of Americans had received a concentrated course in geography, including the vast blue expanse of the Pacific in particular. Few had probably ever heard of Pearl Harbor in 1941, but 4 years later the large majority knew the significance of Guadalcanal, Saipan, Leyte Gulf, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa. Indeed, in the 45 months between December 1941 and August 1945, the Pacific Theater of Operations absorbed the attention of the American nation and military longer than any other. Despite the Allied grand strategy of Germany first, after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, the U.S. was irrevocably committed to confronting Tokyo as a matter of urgent priority. American ground troops did not engage the Western Axis in North Africa until November 1942 and did not fight on the European mainland until almost a year later. But U.S. forces were immediately involved in the Pacific, and would be until the war's end. Allied forces were, of course, engaged elsewhere, most notably in the China-Burma-India (CBI) theater. But the development of what British Prime Minister Winston Churchill called trifibious operations was necessarily perfected in the Pacific, a melding of land, sea, and air forces that took giant steps across 161 degrees of longitude from Honolulu to Tokyo. It was a long, bloody slog, averaging an advance of merely 3 miles per day. The human toll paid by American citizens on that road reached some 108,000 battle deaths, more than 1/3 of the total U.S. wartime toll. In comparison, American combat losses in the Atlantic, European, Mediterranean theaters combined had reached some 185,900 by the time the fighting there ended with Victory in Europe Day on May 9, 1945. By the summer of 1945, the nation was distressingly accustomed to mounting attrition. The first week in August alone added a further 7,489 dead, missing, or wounded, bringing the wartime total to 1,068,216 casualties. That meant 1,070 souls a day. The price of doing wartime business. But there was hope, growing, even soaring hope. The stunning announcements of atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki on August 6 and 9, respectively, seemed sure to force Tokyo over the tipping point. Employment of atomic bombs had followed the Allies' surrender demand issued from Potsdam, Germany, in July, 2 weeks before Hiroshima. Without actually indicating the use of nuclear weapons, the Allied declaration had stated, "We call upon the government of Japan to proclaim now the unconditional surrender of all Japanese armed forces and to provide proper and adequate assurances of their good faith in such action. The alternative for Japan is prompt and utter destruction." To most Americans, the threat of prompt and utter destruction was justified, however it was delivered. To a war-weary population at home, the immense devastation of conventional and ultimately nuclear bombing seemed only fitting, given revelations of Japanese atrocities from the rape of Nanking in 1937 to the Bataan Death March in 1942, to attacks on Allied hospital ships in 1944 and 1945. So, too, did they recall the apparent treachery of December 7, 1941, when 2 envoys were filmed visiting the U.S. State Department in Washington, while bombs and torpedoes slaughtered U.S. ships, sailors, and soldiers in Hawaii. America's boiling rage was fueled by the memory of Pearl Harbor over the subsequent 4 long years. Only much later did the true facts emerge. Tokyo had intended minimal notice of impending hostilities, but delays in decoding the complex secret messages in Washington had upset the schedule.